It's a Monday. What's up, Brigade? How are you? Welcome into a new episode of the Bostonian versus the Book. My name is Matt Peralta. We're live on YouTube and X. We're replayed on Sports Grid Television, 1 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific time, and replayed wherever you guys get your audio podcasts. On the show today, boy, what a weekend we have to recap. We've got baseball, we've got football, even college basketball. How about college basketball coming back tonight here in Vegas? Two big games. We'll get the picks later on in the program. We'll break it all down. I'm going to apologize at the beginning. I'm sick. I have been getting on airplanes is like the single worst thing in the world right now. In October, November, December, like when it's cold season and you get on a plane and you're around people and you're like, oh, goodness gracious, I'm going to get sick. 100%. I woke up this morning and I was like, oh, my voice sounds awful. So I apologize at the top if I am drinking more water than normal, if I'm taking breaks a bit more than I normally do. I apologize. If you are wondering what the camera shot is, it is a new camera. So we are breaking that in today with the new camera shot. So hopefully everything works out well. I apologize for being on a bit late on the live stream for you guys on the replay, same time as usual, but we had some things that had to be addressed with my other stuff with Betting Pros. So we're all good. We're good to go. We're good to roll. We got a lot of cool things to come into with, including the opening line. One of our old friends is back. We have a new sponsor. It's an old sponsor, but the new sponsor, the opening line. Opening lines being presented by Huel. 5 favorite things from the weekend. If you guys were not with us a couple of months ago when Huel first came on board, Huel is back. And these guys, look, I know this might be a bit of a unique thing, but if you are like me and you are busy and you need meals that will get you through the day, how often do you guys skip breakfast? Like seriously, as dads, as workers, like how often are you running around like crazy and you need something in the morning quick? This is a go-to meal that regardless if they were sponsoring the show or not, I would tell you that I actually do this about 3 to 4 times every single week. I will make a shake from Huel. These guys have found a way to pack a meal into a glass. For me, I use the Black Edition ready to drink. These are just scoops like you see normally with protein powder, but it creates a chocolate or vanilla shake that is great. I throw a banana inside of it. I throw a couple of ice cubes. I use milk. You could use water if you want to keep the calories down, but 35 grams of protein, 27 essential vitamins and minerals, no artificial sweeteners. It is gluten-free. It is vegan. It is ready to go. And if you want to go check it out and you don't go, all right, Matt, I'm not really going to go and buy this online. They are now in Target. They have now launched in Target nationwide. So they have the ready to drink, the actual ready to drink. It's on your screen at the moment, on the right-hand side of your screen, the ready to drinks. That is a chocolate or a vanilla. You can find that at Target. So they are expanding. They are from the UK. It's where I found them in Scotland. And if you guys today, new customers can go and use the code BVB to get 15% off your first purchase at Huel. Log on to huel.com/BVB. Huel makes healthy eating simple. They're now in Target nationwide. Try both products today with 15% off your first purchase for new customers with the code BVB by logging on to huel.com/BVB. Use that code. And after you do make the purchase, make sure you stick around for the post-purchase survey. Why? Well, that's how we're going to get credit for what you guys are doing. If you're going to run over to Huel, use that huel.com/BVB. Get 15% off your first purchase today. Again, you know, I'm not just a spokesperson for them now, but I'm also a customer because I use it all the time. It's really good stuff. Let's begin with number 5. A nice little reminder yesterday that the NFL is still hard to bet when you want to lay points because favorites took it badly yesterday. Dogs went 8-4 straight up yesterday in the NFL, including 5 straight up wins, including the Packers and the Lions, both getting beat in games that they should not have gotten beaten at home by the Panthers and by the Vikings. This was a 7-5 straight up day for favorites. So favorites still won, but the dogs went 8-4. Road teams went 8-4 straight up yesterday. They went 7-5 against the number. And when you're talking about, games in which we thought it would be an easy walk to the window, not so much. My 27-1 trend came crashing down yesterday. Now, I don't recommend doing parlays. It's been a big thing from mine for a while, but I did a 4-leg money line parlay where 2 of the 4 teams lost outright. To give you an idea that, yes, it's not always that simple to be betting in the NFL. And even though that trend, and I'll still bet that trend, okay, I'm still going to ride big favorites and parlay them together because, look, it's a 1-week anomaly. We had seen a crazy run over the last couple of years with favorites, and we're still, in my mind, we're still rolling with favorites. But for last weekend, for yesterday, not so much. Number 4, how about timing? Timing is everything in life, right? When you meet your wife, your girlfriend, when you meet your significant other, when you get the right job offer, when you get the right opportunity, right? The job that you wanted wasn't open when you wanted it, and it was good because something else happened down the road that opened up, right? When one door closes, another one opens. But it took one game. It took one game for Nebraska fans to turn on Matt Rule. We told you about this going into the weekend, that Matt Rule had lost personally 18 consecutive games against ranked opponents. USC had equally not won outside of the state of California in forever. And Lincoln Riley's record away from the Pacific time zone was abysmal. East Coast, Central Time. They go to Lincoln, Nebraska. They are favored by 5 over Nebraska. They win. Matt Rule, before the game, gets an extension and a raise from Nebraska to keep him away from Penn State. And after one game, it took one game. This is the same publication covering Nebraska. Nebraska's innovative Matt Rule extension shows Huskers coach walked the walk. Nebraska just took a major step, a major piece off the board by keeping him away from Penn State. Next game, next headline. It only took one game for Nebraska fans to start questioning Matt Rule's extension. After yet another loss to a top 25 team, Nebraska fans are already getting restless just days after Matt Rule's extension. It really is. What have you done for me lately? And I talked about it. I mean, bless the agent for Matt Rule to get this done, because I wouldn't have given it to him. If I was Nebraska, I wouldn't have given it to him, but they see something that I don't. And okay, I'm not on the ground. I don't cover the program the way I used to. I was there every day. I was at every press conference. I was at every big event. I was at every home game. Like I was close to the program for many years, for 5 seasons. But I haven't seen it up close and personal since 2011. But the last time Nebraska beat a ranked opponent was in 2014. That was 11 years ago. They're now 0-29. 0-29 straight up against ranked teams over their last 29 games. So for Matt Rule, he gets more money. He gets more time. And for Nebraska, you hope that he figures it out. The problem is that Dylan Raiola just broke his leg. So your starting quarterback is out for the year, and Nebraska's season is pretty much done. So just kind of bad to worse. You get the extension. You're feeling good that you got Matt Rule. Penn State's not going to hire away our coach. And then you lose your quarterback, and everything just kind of spirals downward for the Huskers for the rest of the year here for the Big Ten. Number 3, the Blue Jays were not the better team in the World Series. This made big news over the weekend, and a broadcaster in Toronto decided, Caleb Joseph, a guy who I had not heard of before the weekend, declared that the better team did not win the World Series, that the Dodgers were not the better team, that the Blue Jays played a style of baseball that the fans liked so much that almost insinuating that the Blue Jays, well, they should have won because of the brand of baseball that they played and how infectious the personalities were, and that the Dodgers were this bought juggernaut baseball team. This was the most Toronto of Toronto things I have seen in a really long time. I don't know if it's because the Toronto Maple Leafs are the running joke for teams that choke, and that Toronto has not won the cup. Canada has not won the cup since 1993 with the Canadians. And that was the same year that the Blue Jays won their second championship when they went back-to-back in 92 and 93. And we haven't seen a championship in baseball or a championship in hockey since. The Raptors got it done. So Toronto had an NBA championship, but it was a fleeting 1 year blip where Kawhi Leonard and company won the championship. It has been a lot of years of just having to suck on the tailpipe of everybody else in your divisions if you're a Toronto sports fan. So all the hype, all the excitement about the Maple Leafs, and they can't get out of the second round. All the talk about the Blue Jays, and they win the American League East. They finally do that. They win the American League Championship. They finally do that. They win Game 5. They're up 3-2. They're going home. They have 2 games in their building to win the World Series. They have a game in which they are down 3-1, and they have a chance to tie the game in Game 6. And it ends on a double play. Game 6 ends on a double play. They had a 4-3 lead in the 9th inning. In the 9th inning, they were leading 4-3. They had recorded 1 out, and they gave up a game-tying home run to a second baseman who would not hit a home run in a month. You're going to have to try real hard to explain to me how in the world the Toronto Blue Jays were the better baseball team in that World Series. It just isn't true. It is such a BS way of talking about that series. It's actually insanely disrespectful. I know. Look, I'm on the West Coast, okay? I'm an East Coast guy living on the West Coast, and I fully understand the hatred that everybody on the East Coast has for the Dodgers. Even my own daughter asked me yesterday. She said, "Dad, the Dodgers won the World Series." And I said, "Yes." And she said, were you happy about that?" I said, "Yeah, because I bet 2-1 after Game 5. I bet 2-1. I took a small piece of the Dodgers to come back. So I was happy that the Dodgers won because my bet won." And she goes, "No, I don't care about betting. I want to know, like, do we as Red Sox fans, do we like the Dodgers?" And I said, "No, it's LA. Boston does not like LA. However, I have a deep appreciation for this Dodger team. One, I am extremely happy for Clayton Kershaw. Extremely happy that he goes out as a back-to-back champion and he gets that on his resume. I'm extremely excited about the man, the leader that Kershaw was and the career he had. Equally, I'm not angry that Mookie Betts is a Dodger. I blame the Red Sox for that decision. And look, Mookie Betts did not play well in the World Series, but Mookie Betts now is a 4-time champion. 2 with the Red Sox and 2 with the Dodgers. Mookie is incredible. You look at Freddie Freeman, and in back-to-back years, he hits a walk-off home run to win a game in the World Series. I haven't even gotten to the pitching yet. I haven't even gotten to Yamamoto yet and what that guy did. So I, as a sports fan, as a gambler, as someone who just appreciates incredible athletic abilities in incredible moments, I don't know how, other than being a diehard Blue Jay fan with Blue Jay glasses, that you cannot have a deep appreciation for what the Dodgers did. Nobody handed them anything in that World Series. All of that was earned. All of that. They won an 18-inning baseball game. Their bullpen, which was garbage for all year, and in the playoffs, their bullpen held the Blue Jays scoreless for 11 innings in that 18-inning marathon. Like, that's incredible. They had a pitcher win Game 6 and win Game 7. Like, think about that. In the World Series, we had the same pitcher who won Game 6 and won Game 7. And you're telling me that the Blue Jays were the better baseball team? The Blue Jays were more deserving, or the Blue Jays play a brand of baseball? You can talk about the economics all you want, but the Blue Jays had a top 5 payroll. So jump off a bridge with that stupid argument, okay? You spent a ton of money. This was not David versus Goliath. And I agree with John Schneider. I agree with he was getting upset about that argument or that line of questioning about the little guy against the big guy. The Blue Jays spent their asses off, okay? They gave Vlad Jr. a massive contract. So don't tell me that the Blue Jays are some like little engine that could. right? They went for it. They traded for Max Scherzer. Like they went for it and they got all the way to the World Series. They got into extras in Game 7. It paid off. It was an incredible event. Halloween basically got canceled because of the World Series. So, like, can we not disrespect the Dodgers? Like, can we just not do that? You don't need to put one team down because you're trying to sing praise and you're heartbroken about your team choking again, because that's what the city of Toronto is known for, right? The Blue Leafs, the Maple Jays, whatever you want to call it, okay? But I don't think the Jays lost the series because of something that they did, except they did make a couple of boneheaded moves. They got beat by a better baseball team. Why? Because one team had Yamamoto and the other one did not. The numbers for Yamamoto, are you kidding me? This is stupid. Now, the numbers at the bottom, the 9-1 record, that's the last 2 years. His ERA in the postseason over the last 2 years for the Dodgers, 7-1. The team is 9-1 in games he pitched and a 2.25 ERA. But look at these numbers. Back-to-back complete games. 6 innings of 1 earned baseball. 5 hits. ERA of 1.45 in these playoffs for Yamamoto. Capped off by a 2 2/3 innings relief appearance in which he gave up 1 hit. He had 1 walk and recorded 1 strikeout and faced 10 batters on 0 days rest. He won the game. He stabilized everything, and he was unfreaking believable. What is awesome, my number 2 favorite thing from the weekend, is that we all had to be reminded that pitching in the postseason still wins. If you have dominant pitching, if you have a dominant pitcher, you can win the World Series. All this talk about launch angle and the bases and everything we've done from a big picture perspective of how the game of baseball is going to be played, pitching still matters. Yamamoto was so damn good. And for number 1, my favorite thing from the weekend, I mean, my gosh, this was as fun of a World Series as you will ever have. That was the best World Series of my life. People have been talking about the 1975 Red Sox and Reds World Series. They talked about the Mets and the Red Sox 86 World Series. They've talked about other incredible moments, the following 9/11, all the things that we've seen on the baseball diamond. But from a game perspective, from a 7-game series, this is just the first. This is not all the highlights. This is the first. Things that never had happened before. A pinch hit grand slam on the first pitch he saw, by the way, by Edison Barger. 2 extra inning games, one that went 18 and one that went 11 in games 3 and game 7. We saw 2 extra inning home runs. Freddie Freeman with a walk-off in game 3 and Will Smith with the game winner in game 7. We saw the walk-off home run by Freddie Freeman. Back-to-back years he did that. A 7-4 double play to end the game, which you want to talk about mistakes? Oh my gosh, what a huge mistake base running wise for the Blue Jays. Back-to-back home runs to lead off game 5. Blue Jays did that against Blake Snell. You had a complete game in the World Series by Yamamoto. You had a 12-strike, the first 12 strikeout, 0 walk game pitched, and it happened by a rookie, Ignacevich. A player who reached base 9 times. Ohtani being intentionally walked over and over again in game 3 because the Blue Jays did not want to give him a shot at the plate. And then a game-tying 9th inning home run that flipped the World Series when Miguel Rojas hit that home run when it was 4-3 to tie the game at 4. If you don't love baseball, if you don't love sports, I don't know where you're at, because you missed an unbelievable run. You missed one of the most entertaining and incredible World Series ever. To me, Zach, I think it was the best World Series ever. I really do. I think it was. I know we're instantly in the moment, and I know we're all just going to instantly react to it. And so it's what we just saw. So the instant, easy answer is yes. That was the best World Series ever, but nothing made me miss my friend. Nothing made me miss Dave Sherapan more than those two games in Game 6 and Game 7. I mean, we would have been on the phone. We would have been texting. It would have been, I was getting a ton of text messages. You guys in the brigade who have my phone number, a bunch of you guys, I was on a plane. I was watching from 30,000 feet up. I watched Game 7 on Saturday night. I watched it on the plane. And you guys were sending me text messages. And it's the beauty thing of technology. I'm just sitting there watching the back of a headrest, watching the game. And you guys are I'm getting text messages, and almost everybody, you guys are all saying this. Dave would love this. Dave would have loved this. And 100%. We would have started the show the same way we're starting the show now. We would have gone deep into Yamamoto. We would have talked deep about Ohtani. That's just what we would have done with baseball. I mean, I know it's an NFL day. I know yesterday we'll get to all the NFL stuff, but unbelievable. Just a crazy. I mean, yeah, that's a good point, Whitrock. It was an 8-game series. That's a good point. We didn't get 7 games. We got 8 games. They played 8 games. Unreal. I think if you are a fan of the Blue Jays, you're in too much pain to really be able to appreciate what your team did, because it feels like a Drake bet. It feels like you're all excited until Drake is, there. And Kendrick Lamar gets over on Drake again with LA. The Nike ad that ran right after the World Series victory was so good. It was so well timed. It was awesome. And there was just so many cool things that happened during that series, during that, march to history. And I think there's a lot of people who are anti-Dodgers that just hate the Dodgers, because my brother lives in Oakland, and he's like, everybody here is pissed. Nobody wants this. Everyone is furious. Everyone's mad that here are the Dodgers winning back-to-back championships. And even that, I think, is a bit short-sighted, because I don't think the Dodgers have gamed the system. I don't think the Dodgers have done anything nefarious. I mean, Ohtani chose the Dodgers, right? I mean, the offer was ridiculous, but Ohtani, he could have gone to Toronto. He chose not to. So the money that Toronto was going to give to Shohei Ohtani wound up going to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I don't think Blue Jay fans are angry that they gave that money to Vladdy Jr. But I don't blame the Dodgers for signing Ohtani. He has more than paid off and returned the investment so far, and they are going to continue. Are they the evil empire? I mean, in a way they are, but I have a hard time making fun of the Dodgers or ripping the Dodgers when you have the best player of all time. They have the best baseball player of all time. And so I'm not going to be negative about it. I want to appreciate it. I want to appreciate the fact that I am alive watching baseball in the time that Shohei Ohtani is also playing the game of baseball, because I love the sport. I love watching the sport. And he plays it at a level that, well, we haven't seen it before. And that, I think, for me, that's why I love the Dodgers story. Do I want the Red Sox to beat them in the World Series next year? Absolutely. I want to see somebody else knock them out? I do. But the more I get to watch Ohtani play the game of baseball, the happier I am. So I'm cool with it. They'll go for 3 in a row. And yeah, I mean, look, they're not the 1920 Yankees, but they have a player that is doing things that no one has ever seen before. And for that reason, I'm not angry. They're not cocky. They're not jerks. They don't say things in the media that get people attention. Ohtani is not out here running his mouth. No one's pimping home runs, really. Okay. No one's doing bat flips like crazy. The Dodgers are a hard team to dislike. They're a hard franchise to poke holes in and say, well, that guy's a jackass and that guy sucks. Like, it's hard to hate the Dodgers. And I think that's one of the reasons why casuals or people that are not invested in the Dodgers, like me, can go, all right, I can get behind those guys. That's okay. I can do that. And Joel is pointing out the deferring money. Okay, fine. I'll give you that. The deferred money is a unique thing. But honestly, do you care? Like, seriously, if a player wants to defer his money, you're mad at the player doing that? Wouldn't you want your team to do that? Wouldn't want your superstars to do that? And that's a knock on the Dodgers because their players are willing to defer money to let the team be competitive now? Why is that so negative? I know it looks like they're cheating or doing something nefarious, but they're not. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is trying to be as competitive as possible. We got a lot more to get into. What happened last night, what happened over the weekend. We got college basketball still to come, but I do want to touch on one more baseball topic. For what will probably be the last time for 2025. Maybe we'll bring it back up if there's something else out there that pops in, but this is probably the final Ohtani watch of 2025. I still like the OG one. That's the OG one. I still prefer the OG Ohtani watch. Did Ohtani get special treatment in Game 7? That's what everyone's saying. Ohtani people, if you hate the Dodgers cheated. That Ohtani got extra time while he was warming up. It wasn't appropriate. That they didn't like the DH rule. They didn't like how they were able to manipulate where to bat him and how to keep him in the game. I mean, this stuff with Ohtani is so unique, and it has caused a lot of people to have to go back and read all about what exactly is going on with the rules. Ohtani took the mound in Game 7, and the two-way player, people were like, wait a minute, this is not okay. They were talking about it on the broadcast about the fact that Ohtani was given extra time to warm up because he had come off the mound and hadn't gone out there because he's a very slow pitcher in terms of warming up. And he had just made an out. And now people were saying it's not okay. And they think they're going to have to try to change these rules. A player who is listed on the lineup card simultaneously as the pitcher and the DH is treated for substitution purposes as two separate roster entries. This allows a starting pitcher who is removed from the mound to remain in the game as the DH, preserving his at-bats, even though his pitching day is done. People aren't liking that. They're thinking this is wrong. This is not right. We shouldn't allow this to happen. But, I think it's fine. The extra warm-up tosses that people were angry about, come on. This is what we're talking about. We're angry about the extra warm-up tosses. Come on. Like, we got to find better things to poke holes in Ohtani's game. If we're mad about he's not abiding by the rules. We have a very strict number of minutes between innings. It's the World Series. Who cares how long he's taking to warm up? Okay. You can be a little bit less rigid on this. Okay. It's simply a warm-up toss. Like, it's not that big of a deal. And the Blue Jays were ticked off and their broadcasters were ticked off, crying and whining about it. Like, if this is what you need to beat the Dodgers, you're already beaten. You're done. If this is your problem, you're already dead. Okay. You've already lost. If this is how you think you beat the Dodgers is by trying to make Shohei speed up or go faster or get to his warm-up tosses quicker, come on. Okay. It shouldn't be. If he comes out of the game as a pitcher, he has to come out of the game as a hitter too. Why? We haven't done that for over 100 years. Why? Because you got to make sure Ohtani's out of the game. This is the same thing with the Blue Jays walking Ohtani 15,000 times intentionally in Game 3, which I still think there should be a cap on the number of times you can intentionally walk a player in Major League Baseball. I think the number should be 3. We have said this before about the number of times you can throw over to first base. It's 3. I think the same thing should occur here for number of intentional walks. You can't just keep on intentionally walk the same hitter. Like, I think there should be a cap on that. So maybe that's the future. But, how many 18-inning baseball games are we going to see in our lifetimes? We've seen 2 in the World Series so far, which is kind of crazy. But that's, to me, I'm going to go ahead and say that should be capped. I didn't like that. Shoe on the other foot, would it be the same? What do you mean? If there's a Blue Jay player doing that, would the Dodgers complain? I mean, maybe. I don't know. But I just think it's a little bit ridiculous that this is all going on at the moment. Like this is a lot of crying. This is a lot of whining for Ohtani. And sorry, you lost to the best player of all time. Like just be not honored. You want to beat the guy, obviously, but like let's just not the gamesmanship stuff needs to stop. Ohtani did not get special treatment in my mind in the World Series. All right, on to football. Oh boy, the Lions killed me yesterday. Boy, did that crush me. It was the one game I just needed them to win. JJ McCarthy and company showing that Kevin O'Connell can still coach. I was pretty adamant that Kevin O'Connell was going to get exposed, that all the love about O'Connell was a bit too premature, that JJ McCarthy was not going to perform well against this Lions defense. And even with the Lions problems in their secondary, that the Vikings were going to have a tough time running the football. I was wrong. JJ picked up first downs. They ran the ball effectively, and he found open wide receivers. Addison and Jefferson had a field day catching the football, and then Goff didn't play great. The offense was okay. It wasn't great. That defense, give Brian Flores credit. They were focused. They stopped the run, and they really made life difficult for Jared Goff. And that was brutal. 9.5-point dogs at kickoff, the Vikings, and they won the game outright. That's their biggest win since they were 14-point dogs to the Eagles back in 2010. It's been a long time since the Vikings were that big of a dog and that won the game outright. I thought that they could cover, so I teased it down. I did not think that they were going to win the game outright. They did. That stopped that streak of 27-1 for teams favored by 8 points or more to win the game straight up. But right behind that was the Packers, who were laying 14 points at home to Carolina, and they lost outright. The Packers are now 0-5 against the number as 7-point favorites in 2025. If the Packers get to be big favorites, they're a fade. For whatever reason, they're a fade. And Matt LaFleur is tremendous in September and October, but when the calendar flips to November, Matt LaFleur has a big problem on his hands because his teams start to get exposed. It's the same problem for Shane Steichen. Shane Steichen and the Colts do tremendous work in September and October, but when you get to November, they turn back into pumpkins because that performance by Indianapolis, that was my number one team. They're out of my top 5. Tomorrow, when we do my top 5 teams heading into week 10 for the NFL, they're out. They go from number 1 to unranked after that performance. 6 turnovers against Pittsburgh, many of them unforced, many of them just really bad decisions by Daniel Jones. If you want to talk about a blueprint on how to beat this team, you guys in the chat have been talking about this for a long time. When does Daniel Jones turn back into a pumpkin? And the clock struck 12 in Pittsburgh yesterday on the Indianapolis Colts, because all that success of handling the pressure, all that success of being the top quarterback in the NFL, facing pressure, completing over 66% of his passes and not putting the ball in harm's way, all fell apart yesterday in Pittsburgh. And there is your blueprint for the rest of the year to beat the Colts, who are 7-2, but this looks like the same old Colts under Shane Steichen. Awesome start, awesome beginning to the year, and then once the weather starts to turn, the Dome team just turtles, and they start going south in a hurry. They're going to win the division, okay? There's no debating on that. They're going to win the South, but they're not a team right now that I would be really all that afraid of if they're showing up in my building in a divisional playoff round or a wild card playoff round. I guess if it was a wild card, they'd be at home, but I'm not worried. I'm just not worried. Yes, that's a great point, WB Punch Drunk. 6 turnovers, and the Steelers won by 7. Tells you a lot about the Steelers. Yes, I don't think Pittsburgh's good. That's why I laid the 3 points with the Colts. I bet Indy yesterday because I did not think that the Steelers, I still don't think that Pittsburgh's very good. But that was more about the Colts and less about Pittsburgh to me. That was more an indictment on Indianapolis and Shane Steichen and Danny Dimes than it was on the Steelers. The Steelers are still who I thought they were. Okay. They still have a ton of talent on defense. They have a quarterback situation that's murky, but if I'm a Steeler fan, the team is who I thought they were, and they still have a chance to win the division, even with the Ravens playing really well. There's a ton of football still to be played in the AFC North. But in the AFC South, the Colts went back to the team, everybody. And granted, I got pushed back from people all the time when I was saying I think the Colts are the best team in football. People were like, you're nuts. And going into last week, I felt justified by everything that had happened. Their running game, their defense, they're taking care of the football, and then 6 turnovers and a blowout. The game was not as close as the final score indicated. Like, that was a dominating performance by Pittsburgh up against Indy. But again, more about Indy and less about the Steelers. How about this bet that was taken at BetMGM in-game? This is something. A bettor at BetMGM placed a $1 million in-game bet on the Raiders. Now, here's the weird thing. You could have gotten plus 1.5 here in Vegas before kickoff. So I would be curious as to when exactly that ticket was put. Because that says what? 12? That says at 20:01. So that's not accurate as to when it was placed. I don't know if that's actually, that timestamp is accurate. But he won 800,000 after the Raiders scored a touchdown in overtime and went for 2. A tie would have won it either. So it didn't really matter. I had plus 3. I was on the Raiders plus 3. So I was watching this going, okay, this number closed at 1.5. The Jaguars go and score a touchdown, and we get what I had wanted for a long time. Both teams have a chance to possess the ball in overtime. So the Jags score a touchdown. Raiders come back. Raiders go down the field. Raiders score that game tying touchdown. Kick the extra point. We're tied. Okay. It's like 10 seconds left in the game. Game's going to be tied. Or go for 2 in the win. I don't blame Pete Carroll at home going for the win. I'm not sure I love the play call. Geno Smith getting the ball batted down back into his face. Not really sure when it comes to plays inside the 3-yard line why lessons aren't learned by Pete Carroll. Like, you know, it did happen to you in the Super Bowl, right? It did cost you a championship because you threw the ball from the 2-yard line instead of running the football at the 2-yard line. But, you know, Geno Smith is not a good quarterback. Geno Smith will not be a starting quarterback in the NFL next year, and yet they put the ball into Geno Smith's hands with a game that I thought the Raiders had to win. That was a really important game. But from a gambling perspective, plus 3, plus 2, plus 1, all those things, well, or plus 1.5, all those numbers cash for the Raiders after going for 2 and missing it. And BetMGM got hit pretty hard. I just wonder, 800,000 in-game, he could have gotten a better number. Like, you had to have been able to get 6 at some point during that game. If I'm putting $1 million down on it, why am I betting the closing number in game? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So it kind of feels like they wanted to get the game to go into, have the game start, and then for different tax purposes and whatever handle purposes, they took the bet in game versus pre-flop. Because again, you could have gotten plus 1.5. I was on the Circa Sports app right at kickoff, watching the closing number to see what it was going to be. I had taken plus 3 earlier in the week, and the professional money came pouring in on the Raiders, and that number drove all the way down to 1.5 at close. So if you took 1.5 in game, that seems dumb. Like, I'm putting $1 million down on it. Just bet it pregame. Just take the closing number versus the in-game number. Because again, your in-game number should have been better because the Jaguars at different points during that game had a 7-point lead. So like, you had to have been able to get 4 or 5 when the Jags were up by 7 points in that game. So why take 1.5? I don't know. It's just a strange moment. But yes, Brock Bowers is a monster. 3 touchdown catches rather. And that's why I took the Raiders plus 3, because Brock is a difference maker for that offense. When he's there, when he has health, when he can play, when the knee's not bothering him, Brock Bowers is nearly unguardable. And the Jags had no answer for him. So, going forward, that's great news for the Raiders to have Brock Bowers back. Ashton Jeanty, anytime touchdown, cashed again. So Ashton Jeanty continues to be just an absolute cash cow for anytime touchdowns. It was even money at close yesterday for Ashton Jeanty, anytime touchdown. I would keep betting that. But, interesting situation on that for sure coming up. To college football. Number 13, Texas survived a huge rally by Vandy, who's now ranked 15th. Arch Manning finally looked the part. That's a big win for Texas. We talked about it on Friday about if Vanderbilt had won that game, there was going to be a career, a program defining type of victory for Vanderbilt. And they almost stole it. Like they got dominated for 3 quarters and then Texas just let up. And all of a sudden, Diego Pavia was getting easy scores on easy scores. And the onside kick almost was recovered by Vanderbilt with a chance to go and tie the game or win the game. Texas is fortunate to have won that game, but Arch looked great. First play of the game goes to the house. He didn't do much. It was a swing pass against a perfect defensive front that Vanderbilt put up, and Texas goes to the house on the first offensive play of the game. That set the tone, but big win for Texas. They got it done. They hung on, but that's a big win for the Longhorns going forward. Auburn fired Hugh Freeze yesterday after a bad loss to Kentucky. They were big favorites. I couldn't figure out on Saturday who in the hell was going to lay that many points with Auburn at home against Kentucky. They lost the game outright. Hugh Freeze goes 6-16 in the SEC. He gets fired. He's the latest Power 4 coach to get fired. Every weekend, I feel like we're having this conversation on Monday about coaches that got run out after a bad loss. And whether it be Florida being open, Penn State being open, Auburn being open. I mean, we got Arkansas open. We got a lot of jobs that are going to need to be filled coming up here as college football continues to look more and more like the NFL as you're given, 3 or 4 years. And if you don't get it done in 3 or 4 years, see you later. You're out. Miami, another brutal loss. Miami on the road as a 10-point favorite to SMU. They lose the game in overtime. Miami's dropped all the way to 18th in the AP poll. We'll see when the playoff poll comes out later today what it looks like for Miami. But another game in which the Hurricanes should not have lost, and they lost. Like, this is a running thing when Miami is favored by 10 points on the road in November. This team just does not deal with success under Mario Cristobal very well. And they lost the game outright. Huge win for SMU. Awful loss for Miami. And if you're looking at, who the best team in the country is right now, Ohio State, Indiana, and Texas A&M. They are undefeated. But Indiana keeps on getting more and more first place votes. They did it again. Another ridiculous blowout over the weekend for the Hoosiers. They just keep on winning. It doesn't matter how many points you put up, 21, 24, 28. It doesn't matter. Signetti's going to cover. I mean, he is the greatest alumni guy ever. Lay whatever number of points you need to lay with the Hoosiers. That dude's going to cover for you. He's just killing everybody and enjoying every second of it by putting up big time money left and right, scoring, putting up. So huge, big win for Indiana. Ohio State took care of business against Penn State. I thought Penn State would have a lot more for Ohio State. I'll be honest. I really did. Thought that number was too high. Thought 18.5, 19 points was too high. It looked good in the first half, and in the second half, Justin Sane and company just got rolling. That defense could not stop Ohio State at all. They got a couple of lucky bounces with the ball that ended up being for scoring plays, but tough loss for Penn State. That job, we'll see who ends up getting the Penn State job, but there's a rebuild coming. That's a lot of kids who are already looking to next year who aren't interested in playing football right now for Penn State. So, Ohio State looks like the best team in the country, but Indiana's right there, and Texas A&M, that's my best team in the country. If I'm voting, I like Texas A&M. Ohio State, Indiana comes in right behind, but A&M, we'll see where we go from a playoff perspective in terms of the bracket, who plays whom. Indiana will play Ohio State, obviously, in the Big Ten title game, so we'll get a preview. That could be a rematch in the playoffs, so we'll see that game most likely. But can Michigan beat Ohio State? I don't know. Right now, I would say no. But the game is in Ann Arbor, and Michigan has had Ohio State's number. Ryan Day needs to win the game. Forget the national championship. They want that game coming up here in a couple of weeks. They want that game. So if Indiana wins the Big Ten, if Ohio State loses to Michigan and then loses to Indiana, in the Big Ten championship. Ohio State's going to get in, but Ohio State's going to be where are they going to be? A 6 seed, a 7 seed? It's very interesting. The end of the year for Ohio State is going to be very interesting from a bracket perspective. They simply cannot afford to lose to Michigan again. Let's make some bets. It is time for Just the Picks, being presented by Betting Pros' Prop Bet Cheat Sheet. If you guys don't know what the Prop Bet Cheat Sheet is, you guys can go and check out the Prop Bet Cheat Sheet by logging on to bettingpros.com/props or going and downloading the Betting Pros app. What is the Prop Bet Cheat Sheet? This is an algorithm projection based upon prop betting that will happen both in baseball, in football, in basketball, that's up every single day, including for tonight's game between the Cowboys and the Cardinals. You can compare lines with daily projections. It'll tell you about EV. It ranks up to a 40% positive EV. 1-star up to 5-star plays, and it'll give you a hit rate over the last 10, 20, 50 games. You can play with it to see what categories you want it to be. It's what I use for myself to find prop bets all the time. You can go and check out the Prop Bet Cheat Sheet by downloading the Betting Pros app or heading over to bettingpros.com/props to see the Prop Bet Cheat Sheet. Okay, let's talk about tonight. Cowboys and their game at home up against the Cardinals. So Kyler Murray will dress. Will Kyler Murray play? Probably not. According to Adam Schefter and ESPN, it could be a divorce in the offseason between the quarterback and his team. It is coming to an end at the moment for Kyler Murray. The season's a wash for the Cardinals, but Jacoby Brissett tends to play hard, tends to make life difficult for teams that think that the Cardinals are not going to, or any team for that matter, are going to just run over and beat up on Arizona. However, the numbers for Dak Prescott at night are pretty stunning. Dak Prescott is 29-15-1 straight up at night. Equally, he is 26-18-1 against the number at night, including a 2-0 mark against the number this season. And since 2021, 14-7 against the number at night for Dak Prescott. That is the second best mark amongst quarterbacks who have made at least 8 starts. Only Jared Goff has a better mark against the number since 2021 playing in night games. Dak in his career is 18-11-1 against the number as a favorite in night games, and he's 25-5 straight up in those games at home at night. In fact, he's a perfect 13-0 straight up since the start of the 2020 season at home at night as a favorite, winning those games by an average of 18.3 points per game. Now, it's a high total, but most of these games that have these high totals wind up going under. So I'd be careful just kind of running to the window and betting the over simply because, well, it's the Cowboys, right? It's the Cowboys. Their lack of defense means that Cardinals are going to score. Maybe. I'm laying the 3. Give me the Cowboys. -3 up against the Cardinals. I like the way Dak is playing. Jacoby Brissett, we'll see what he looks like here. But, you know, the Cowboys are 3-0 to the over at home this year. Cowboy overs are 15-6 over the last 3 seasons, and they've been over 500 for the last 8 years. Okay. So, like, there's plenty of things to go into it. But, you know, if you are looking at Kyler Murray playing tonight, if he does play, but most like Brissett's going to start. Murray might dress. He might come in and play if things go south, or he might. But most of the games for Kyler Murray on the road, he's been a pretty good under guy. 68% of his road starts have gone under. So he's not starting, obviously. It's Brissett. But just to take a look at that trend, I'm staying away from the total. I'm laying the 3 points with the Cowboys. Welcome back, college basketball. I know a bunch of you guys thought that I would wind up betting the Drake game today. Drake has another new coach, and Drake has a whole new roster, and they're laying 10 points to Northern Arizona today. I can't do it. I can't lay points. I can't lay 10 points on a team whose coach has never coached at this level and whose team is all brand new. Like, if you are that person, tip of the cap for you. You're a better person than me. Instead, for me, I'm laying 3 with Florida. 2 games here in Vegas I have placed. Florida, defending champs, Todd Golden's back. 3 players from last year's championship team that all contributed big minutes to that championship team are all back for Florida. They have a litany of new players coming in as well, and I like culture. I like Todd Golden. Last year, he was very good in November in these early games. He can get his guys focused and ready to go. And Arizona is going to be a decent team, but they have a brand new roster too, okay? They're going to have the crowd. There'll be more Arizona Wildcat fans tonight here than Gator fans, but Gator fans have been chomping at the bit, no pun intended, to get out here to be a part of this because football has been such a crappy year that they can't wait to turn the page to watch college basketball and to defend their championship. Gators tonight laying 3 in a hard-fought game against Arizona. Give me Florida -3. Equally, this number's gone. This number's 10. Look, I think Kevin Willard's going to be a decent coach at Nova. He can't be worse than Kyle Neptune. He was a disaster. That guy was a straight fade in every stretch of the imagination. But how Willard left Maryland was very, very rocky. Wasn't really good. Wasn't really a it wasn't a good situation for either school, the school or the guy. And now he's back at Nova. He's back at home. And he's got some decent players, okay? But if this was a game in which I would say Nova had their established culture of defensive grind and grit, I would say this is too many points. But BYU's got the best roster in the country, including the number 1 recruit, a kid out of Massachusetts, who will make his debut tonight. And Vegas is a BYU town. This is going to be a massive home court advantage for BYU. This is a showcase. There are so many BYU alumni here, and there'll be so many that will drive down from Utah to be a part of this game, to watch BYU. I can't see this game being close. Like, there's just too much talent on this BYU team, and I think there's going to be a lot of fun here going forward to see how it all plays out. I want to try something here. And if this screws everything up, I apologize. But I've always wanted to try this to see if I can do this, because if we can do this, it's going to make it a lot easier as we go through college basketball. As we go through the entire college basketball season, it's going to make it easier if I can do this. Let's see. It did. Can you guys that's KenPom. Okay. As we break down these games, when I put KenPom on the screen, this is going to be a little trick that we're going to do, as long as it doesn't screw everything up, as long as it doesn't make everything really bad, because we can toggle back and forth between Florida here and Arizona coming up. So you can see it on your screen. Florida is a 5-point projected winner here over Arizona in the first game of the season. You have the KenPom rankings. Houston comes in number 1, Florida number 2, Kentucky is 4, Purdue's 3, Kentucky 4, UConn 5. BYU is 18. That's not going to be there for long, guys. Okay. It's a 5-point win, according to KenPom, against Villanova. These are guesses. Okay. These are just straight guesses in my mind. I don't think this is something I'm going to worry about all that much. I'm not concerned all that much about these numbers early. I'm just looking at straight roster. And the BYU roster, oh boy, they are talented. They are going to be a fun team to watch. I think big trouble here. I'm going BYU. I laid 8.5. There's 9.5s and 10s in the market at the moment. I'll be curious if there's much of a buyback here for this, but I just can't see it. It's too small. Okay. Is that too small? Okay. All right. So maybe we won't do that then. It's 9.5 at FanDuel. Yeah. Careful. Javier under, careful. I'm just saying careful on this. DeMarco Day's asking who Ken Pomeroy is. KenPom is Ken Pomeroy. He is a data. He's been on the show. KenPom's been, we'll go get KenPom. We'll go get KenPom. All right. Well, if that's too small, then we'll keep on doing the stuff like this, because generally speaking, I put up, this Cryon, and then I'll put up, something that will, something like I can build something like that, so you guys can see it and it's easier to read, and I blow it up. But the KenPom numbers are there. Yeah, you have to avoid totals, of course. Yes, you have to avoid totals. You can't bet totals in college basketball to start the season. No way. That's Looney Tunes. Absolutely Looney Tunes. Do not do that. Do not bet totals. You have no clue how the game's going to be called. You have no clue how the games are going to be played. All new rosters, coaches moving around. It's a guess at best. Look, I saw a bookmaker over the weekend say, as you guys are all getting ready to hammer the Cowboys on Monday Night Football, and everybody thinks the Cowboys are going to win and cover, like I do. This is a game the professionals are taking plus 3.5 on the Cardinals, right? This bookmaker admitted the hardest thing to do is to make the number for the first week of the college basketball season. So if you know anything about college basketball, you should be able to make some money here because these numbers are incredibly soft. Like they are guessing. They are literally putting up numbers as guesses. And I think that 8.5 was a guess because BYU is going to be one of the best teams in the country. BYU is going to be a huge story this year in college basketball. And if BYU is not in the Final Four, I think there's going to be some really angry people about Kevin Young saying, hey, man, you're supposed to get, this is the year. We spent a ton of money for the number one recruit in college basketball. They gave the kid $7 million, I believe it is, maybe $8 million. The kid out of Boston, give him $8 million to go to Provo, Utah and play basketball for BYU. And he makes his debut tonight. It's a one and done. This is a 1-year thing. This kid's a top 5 pick in the draft coming up. But I think it's a showcase. I think it's a big win for BYU. I don't think Kevin Willard's going to have a fun night tonight in his debut coaching Villanova tonight coming up. So on that, let's make a prop bet for tonight. One from the Cowboys that I like. BVB prop bet of the day, George Pickens over 64.5 rushing and receiving. I'm not sure why, and I told you I used the prop bet cheat sheet from Betting Pros to find this. I'm not sure why the prop bet cheat sheet wants the rushing to be a part of this, but it prefers rushing, receiving over just receiving. I don't know if they're going to sweep and a handoff to George Pickens, but maybe they will. I don't know. But he's gone over this number in 6 of 7 games. He's been a huge weapon. If this is going to be an up-tempo, back-and-forth football game, you have to like George Pickens to have a big game receiving. 64.5 yards receiving is not a lot for a guy who's been the number 1 or number 2 target for Dak Prescott. Yes, CeeDee Lamb is back. That's huge. Yes, they have Ferguson as well. But I think this is just a huge opportunity for George Pickens on Monday Night Football to have a big game catching the ball. And I think a big opportunity to get a W. Pickens, anytime touchdown, don't mind it. To juice, don't mind it at all. Ferguson's overs, don't mind that either. I think most everybody's going to do that. Like most everyone's looking at that. But from a prop bet perspective, George Pickens over 64.5 rushing and receiving yards should be minus 115. That's where I got it last night, somewhere in that range from a juice perspective. But I like George Pickens to go over 64.5 rushing and receiving yards coming up here for tonight. One more quick story before we head off into bonus time. It's our news of the industry. Somebody in the chat asked me about the UFC story that broke during the last hour, and we'll get to that tomorrow. I need to dive a little deeper into the refunds being issued by Caesars for a UFC fight that happened over the weekend. It was flagged for suspicious gambling, and the performance by one of the fighters, I guess, was atrocious. It was even called out during the broadcast about, I think one of the analysts called it an F- performance by one of the fighters. So that's obviously a very significant thing that we'll take a look at for tomorrow's show with the refund. So that's a developing story. So I need to just kind of see how it all goes out. So yes, we will talk about the UFC story, but that's going to be a tomorrow story. I need to get my hands around exactly what happened in the fight and then watch the fight myself to see how, is that blatant, huh? Punch Drunk says blatant match fixing. Ooh, well, the books would agree. They're refunding everyone's tickets. So suspicious gambling for sure going on with that fight, which is not good for anybody. But the NCAA, this is kind of a quiet story that we didn't get to because of everything that happened over the weekend. But the NCAA made an announcement that, remember when I said how dumb it was that they were going to allow student athletes in school athletic department people to bet on pro sports, that they're just like making this now legal? The rule change has been delayed in the wake of everything happening amongst the prop betting scandal in the NBA. The Division I, the NCAA has decided to rescind this for 30 days to now push it back to the 21st of November. So now it will take place. It'll go live on the 22nd of November, where you can now gamble on pro sports as a student athlete or a athletic department official. You can do that, but you can't do that till November 22nd. It becomes legal after that. My guess is that number might get moved. Just a thought. That number probably is going to get moved. And I'm not sure. We probably won't have it on the 22nd. They're probably kicking the can down the road a little bit farther until they get to the bottom of everything that really has been going on here. It's been a pretty rough couple of weeks for the industry when it comes to athletes and gambling and prop betting and federal government investigations. If you guys are watching live on YouTube, Twitter, or listening to the audio podcast, don't move. We got more to come. If you're on the replay crew on Sports Grid, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. We're back tomorrow, same place, same time for a new episode of BVB. For the rest of you, bonus time starts now. They got the UFC. Oh, DeMarco, they've gotten to the UFC a long time ago. A long time ago. UFC's had a problem. The UFC's had a match fixing problem for a bit. It's been kind of a known secret that, it's not good. It's not good. Sorry. Throat's not doing great today. I know the UFC is always tricky because it's the lower level fights that tend to get targeted, and they're not the biggest of handle fights, but if you're betting an early prelim fight and you're betting it for the limit, your account gets flagged pretty fast. So again, I'll look into it a bit more. I saw the story. It broke during the show. You guys have sent it to me a couple different times. So I've seen it on that. Wow. CBW. Thank you for that. Game 7 of the World Series drew 50% more viewers than Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Holy shit. 25.9 million watched Game 7, 16.4 million watched the NBA Finals. Well, that shouldn't be that surprising, given the characters that we're talking about. It was Indiana, Oklahoma City versus Toronto, East Coast City, and LA, major West Coast city. Dodgers, brand name. Shohei Ohtani. 18-inning games. That's not a surprise. Given the way the series went, given the personalities, given the performances we had seen leading up to Game 7, that's not a surprise. I think even the most casual of casuals, we're going to watch baseball. We're going to watch that. And how could you not? So good. JPC hates the NBA. NBA stinks, so no surprise. NBA does not stink. I like the NBA. I like the NBA a lot. It's not baseball. It's not the World Series, but I don't hate it. I'm not nearly as negative as you guys. I'm not nearly as negative as you guys are when it comes to the NBA. I like the NBA. I like betting the NBA. I like watching the NBA. I think the NBA is I think the NBA, I don't want to say it goes underappreciated, but at times I think it does go underappreciated. I think people sometimes talk negative about the NBA and just hate it because of, whatever reason. There's all sorts of reasons why people don't like it, but I love college basketball. I love baseball, but I love the NBA too. I love the NBA too. It's fun to that. So, yeah, the Bulls are 5-0. How about that? Bulls are 5-0. No, it's early. Okay. But the Bulls are 5-0. We'll talk more about them tomorrow. We'll get more into the NBA stuff tomorrow. Big slate of NBA games here tonight. The only game I was looking at for the NBA is, and I got to look at the number. Somebody do me a favor, pull up the number for OKC. Sorry, for Milwaukee and the Pacers tonight. Hasn't it? That was 6.5. I was hoping that number would come down a little bit. It's a high number to lay that for a road team, but it's Miles Turner. The Pacers are really banged up. The Pacers don't have a lot of talent, and the Bucks and the Pacers. If you watch that, again, referencing the Starting Five show on Netflix, but I learned a lot about the Pacers in the rivalry with the Bucks. I didn't think that was that big of a rivalry. They really don't like each other. So Giannis and company tonight having a chance to put a hurting on the Pacers might happen. So the number is interesting. It's 6 now. Okay, so it's come down from 6.5. It was 6. Okay, I thought it would have been a little bit higher than that or lower than that, but it was 6.5. I was like, oh, but if I get 5.5, I'd like the Bucks there at 5.5. I would like the Bucks a lot to jump in there. Few 6.5s. Okay, yeah. Lakers suck, Javier. Lakers suck. Sorry. Just FYI. It is Luka, but I'm on the under for the Lakers win total. Under. Sorry. Landscape. We're always off. That's right. We're always off the air. We're never on the air at 11:30 anymore. So landscapers are here now. So I apologize for that. All right. We got to do favorite thing about today and get out of here because it's going to get really loud and really annoying here. Where is the favorite thing? There. All right. Favorite thing about today. Look at the baseball season was awesome. I'm sad to see it go. Okay. I had my best year betting baseball in a long time. I lost 20 units in 2024 betting baseball. I won 25 units betting baseball in 2025. I will take winning over losing any day of the week. But what a fun, amazing baseball season we just had. It sucks that we don't have baseball till March. Okay. It sucks that we're off because I think we want to keep watching it because it's been so captivating. Ohtani has added so much intrigue, but there are so many other players doing extraordinary things. I think this World Series was such an incredible viewing experience. The entire playoffs I thought were epic, and we're just going to have another really fun run of it because the Dodgers are now the massive big behemoth. Everyone's going to try to keep up with them. We got a bunch of teams trying to get their young players to be ready to go. The National League needs to get their act together a little bit here. But, I mean, the Brewer season was so fun. The Cubs should be good next year. You assume the Giants will keep on building after acquiring a big bat from the Red Sox and, see what a full season will look like for Rafael Devers playing first base for the Giants. Like there's just a lot of fun things. The Padres aren't going to stay pat. There's going to be bigger moves made by other teams like the Diamondbacks and whatnot. So, what a year. What an unbelievable fun baseball season we had. And it sucks that it's over, but it was awesome. Congrats to the Dodgers, Dodger fans, the parades this week. We'll talk to Michael Duarte at some point going in with this, but it's going to be fun to see how this all goes down. I'm excited. It's going to be fun to see how Major League Baseball responds to the dominance of the Dodgers, because there's going to be an effect, right? There's a swing, there's a pendulum effect when somebody goes back to back. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun, a fun offseason to see how it all plays out and how people keep up with the Joneses. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays down. So very, very fun to see how it all goes down. What was this, Thomas? Watching Wagelock earlier, Steve Merrill referred to Dave saying nobody knows. Well, come on now. You can swear. Nobody knows shit. That's great. He's a good dude. Steve Merrill's a good guy. He's a good guy. I like Steve Merrill a lot. Is this Javier, dude? Didn't we boot your ass? Didn't we kick you out before when you were all bitching about the fact that you were coming in here and talking about my NBA knowledge? I thought we threw your ass out. Like I thought you were already gone. You're back again. You're one of these people. Last year we had these three guys. You guys were all so butthurt because you thought you knew everything about the NBA. Whenever I got an NBA bet right, you were silent. You were silent. And then it was, when I got an NBA bet wrong, you came in and run in. But by the way, my NBA season last year was unbelievable. Like we did unbelievable in NBA last year. So what are we now? Let's see what my, on the way out, I'll give you my record for the NBA at the moment. This will be fun. My NBA record I am up 24 units in the NBA in 2025. 24 units I'm up. So, I don't know. I must not know anything, huh? Like 24 units. Go do that. 24 units. So, yeah. It's not just prop. I'm up 10 units without the prop bet cheat sheet. Prop bet cheat sheet's great though. Yes. Prop bet cheat sheet's tremendous. A lot of fun. Back tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern time, back to the normal time. Sorry about today. We had something, you guys will probably hear about it later, but something was going on with Betting Bros that caused me to have to be on a call for a couple minutes before the show. So I had to push the show back for 30 minutes. We're back tomorrow. Thank you for being here, everybody. We appreciate it. I will hopefully have some more news and notes about some other things for hats, t-shirts, other cool things. I know I've been talking about this for a while. Hopefully going to have some more information about that coming up very, very soon. Thank you for being here tomorrow, 1 p.m. Tuesday, for a new episode of BVB.